welcome back to Restaurant. See, I made a mistake. Artist Revue. It's the October 29th, 2014 edition. Just a couple of days away from the big spooky Halloween. And as you know, we do this on the last Wednesday of each month. And once again, we're always interested in bringing to you some of New Orleans' best talent, emerging talent in the art industry. To this date, we have a new young lady in our studio today, ready to deliver. We want to go ahead and talk to her. Her name is Kelsy Niebert. Kelsy, welcome to the show.
Hi there. How you doing?
Good. And she is a painter, predominantly, even though she's got a lot, and also a photographer. She's got a lot of other interests, though, from having a little preliminary discussion. She was in music, I believe, in college, and she also does a lot of the more contemporary virtual or digital graphics and artistry. So, well, let's hear it from her. Tell us a little bit. First, I understand that you're not a native. I do feel a little sorry for that, but we're glad you chose our city. Tell us where you're from and what brought you here. A little bit about yourself, please.
Hi there. Well, yes, I'm actually from Houston, Texas. Moved here about 4 years ago for college. But I did play some instruments in high school, and we would come here to do tours with Jesuit and with Dominican. So,
did you say seven or string instruments?
Oh, just a few. I would play piano, mostly keyboards.
Wow, that's a lot. And so you kind of like the city, and of course you came for college, you said. And then have you stayed since college, or you came back?
Yes, I've lived here full time since I've started at Tulane.
Okay. And I know you mentioned that you do have some roots here, and not in New Orleans per se, but in Louisiana, some family, so that's good. And of course, Houston being so close, you can hop over there either by car or by plane on a moment's notice, huh?
I was just there last weekend, and happy birthday to my mother. Today's her birthday. So.
Oh, okay. Today?
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
right now.
Wow. Great. I wonder if she's teased a lot when growing up because of being so close to Halloween.
She's had some spooky birthdays.
Well, that's great that you're able to keep. Now, what lured you to actually get into this creative, since you had a musical background? What did really prompted you to move into art?
Actually, I really did start with art, and I started with digital art. I was even before pre-K, I'd be in, I guess I would have been 4 or 5, and we had a row of computers up at my school with this program called KidPix, and we would be allowed during creative breaks or whatever to just make these crazy images on KidPix. It would be akin to a kid scribbling the first time they've had crayons, but I loved making pictures on computers, and I've been doing it since before I could really read.
Wow, that's fantastic. So that was really a software you're talking about, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Because when you mentioned kid, we have a good friend of mine from high school days, from Ursuline Academy. It started a group called Yaya. Well, originally it was called Gaba Yaya, but what it is an student art program, and they became really famous for painting ordinary chairs. They do fabulous pieces that are turning them into whatever inspiration the young person had. Some of them becoming very commercially viable. To this day, there's still yaya pieces that go on. You'll see them at a lot of the galas for some of the charity balls, charity functions. So that way you can still gain a piece. And since then, there's been a lot of offshoots. So it was interesting. So Kid Smart was a subsection of that. That was a nonprofit that specialized in educating the young child, or interesting them into moving toward art in some way. So those two programs, two nonprofits, really have done a lot in our city. Of course, it's not statewide. I know a lot of our schools now have art programs. Years ago, when I was growing up, that was, if you wanted a Crayola or something, you did that during the recess, but you didn't do anything during the formulated, regular, disciplined curricula. So it's really great to see that all of the different arts are being received well in our students, in our schools today. Now, whether it be your particular painting, but music, anything to show the creativity and to show that the real talent comes out, because it's not always, as we've learned, that especially in the arts business, not everyone goes through to college, etc., and it all of a sudden gets it on.
Right.
A lot of the folks, it's just their natural inclination for some reason, and they do the best and do better than maybe what they did and then having to go to college. So it does give an alternative economy, not only here in our city, but in all the cities that it's so important. Okay, now I understand you don't have a direct website, but you do use Facebook, and I believe the Facebook title, how to access it, which some of your pictures on there is being shown whenever your name shows. But let's go ahead and tell them what it is. They'll see it all in case they want to see some of these or some additional paintings that you might have.
Yes, my Facebook page is facebook.com/kni.nola, kni.nola.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that a little slowly. So at facebook.com, which everybody knows, then a backward slash, and then she's using part of her initials in her name, KNI, for Kelsy Niebert, KNI.nola. Is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So, and like I say, you'll see it as you see right now underneath her name all there. So don't hesitate after the show's over to check it out. Plus, for those who've been a fan of the show or of New Orleans Access know that many of our shows are now uploaded to the internet via Vimeo.com. So within a couple of days of their broadcast. So later this week, Kelsy will also be on the internet. And for those who are not familiar with that, of course, it's the HTTP deal, but www.vimeo.com, and then there's a slash always, and then it's not under Artist Revue. I only have the one website, so it's under Restaurant Revue, all one word, and of course we spell review R-E-V-U-E, so Restaurant Revue, and then you can go on there and of course see our restaurant shows from prior as well as our Artist Review. So if you need to check her out and you don't want to see more than what's on Facebook or different that's on Facebook, you can at any time access it during Vimeo. All right. Now she doesn't display she doesn't have a gallery exposition going on right now, but she does frequent the arts market. In fact, I met her at a new one. Why don't you tell us about that one? So that way people who are not familiar with that particular one maybe will be able to see you or certainly other artists in the future.
Yes, we met at the Mid-City Arts Market, which was in Kaminsky Park, just off Jeff Davis in the Mid-City. I will hopefully be able to sell there again if they continue, and I also sell pretty much every week during Swap Meet NOLA, which meets on Bainville at the St. Margaret's parking lot. Okay,
for those who are not familiar with St. Margaret's, that's the elderly home and healthcare facility that is in the process of renovating the Bercy Hospital site, which is, of course, on Jefferson Davis and Bienville. As you know, they built new stuff in the back. They haven't done which is the real eyesore. They haven't really renovated the hospital and the church, etc. in front. Hopefully they will. But they stage a small market. How often? When do they have it?
They've been doing it just about every Saturday now that the weather's gotten cooler. So
okay.
They'll probably take a break during the summer.
And of course, it's much smaller than some of the others. Now, the Mid-City Market that she mentioned is a brand new, even though the title's not brand new, it's a new location. They're using the Niebert Kaminsky, I think it's called?
Yes.
Yeah, park, which I'm so glad they finally put back into commission. That, again, is on Jefferson Davis, one block off of Tulane, right behind the old YWCA building. They put a lot of money into renovating it for the children and for the adults to use, and now they've started their first arts market, which seemed to be successful because they had both art, music, and also food vendors there. So I'm sure that'll grow just like the others. So you can catch her at those, and then be on the lookout at some of the others because she's going to investigate the Ferret Street Market and some of the others for the future. So if you want to press the flesh and see her in person, that's the way to get all the details. However, you can contact her through Facebook and or after you see Vimeo. All right. Well, we're ready to start, and you're going to see there is some pattern in some of the work, and we'll wait to discuss that till we actually have it. But I'm going to go ahead and get our first piece up here, and it's a beautiful painting. And why don't we tell them as the camera focuses and goes all over this particular piece.
Yeah, this is a piece called Power. It's acrylic on canvas with some ballpoint pen detailing. I created this one back in 2013, and it is one of my larger pieces.
Well, let's talk a little bit more than that so they can see. Now, hopefully, and again, sometimes these things don't come across, even though we're getting closer and closer. And the pattern that I talked about, or some of the focus that Kelsy does, is on utility poles or utility structures and our energy. And as you notice, here's a series of telephone lines that are somewhat faint, but especially in the center part where it's light, is very, very visible. Is this a storm, or what are we seeing? Where is this located? Where is this?
Oh, it's definitely open to interpretation. Most of my paintings do not end up the same way I intended them to start out. This was originally going to be a image requested by a friend of mine that was Captain America fighting a Nazi, and this is what it is now. So the process is basically I keep adding things to it. I'll completely cover it up. I'll treat acrylic the same way one would treat watercolor, where I'll use water to kind of pull some of the pigment away, like you can see around the edges of that bright light. But is it a moon? I think it's still open to interpretation.
Yeah, I just the opposite. Someone did say, "Oh, it's a moon." One of our staff, and I said, "Well, gee, this is like the telephone line superimposed over the Hurricane Katrina from the satellite. It really has almost that dimension. Really, really neat." So it's kind of great, very relevant to New Orleans, even though it could, of course, could be any place. Now, what you said about an ever-evolving piece, I think that's pretty standard with most artists. In fact, that's part of their problem, is that their works seem never to be complete. And so, especially if you're trying to make a living off this, to bring it to market, they're always wanting to make changes. And even though that's great from the creative aspect, that also is limiting from the marketing aspect. So at some point, even though you might not still be satisfied with your piece, you have to let it go if you want to actually merchandise it. And if you're just looking to keep it, or to put it in a studio or something, there you can constantly make those changes, etc. So you said there was a title. I know some of your pieces are title. If you did, I missed it. What was the title on it?
The title of this one is Power, as in, I guess, the power lines.
Oh, power as in the power lines. That makes sense. But also the power of the force of the storm, if that's such a storm, or the moon and the corresponding. Okay. And the size we said of this acrylic?
This one is 18 by 24 on canvas.
18 by 24. It's on canvas, of course, attached to a frame. Now, she calls studio wrapping, so around the perimeter there's a small continuation of the painting, or at least the background colors. So, you don't really need to frame it. As we know, many people today do not frame things. So you can use it like that, or you can leave it as it is. All right, now we're going to take a look at our second piece, and Kelsey's holding that one. Let's see what we got.
Yeah.
All right. What do we have a name on this, please?
Well, this one's called Firefly. You can see he's got a
Firefly?
little bug shape right there, but as you zoom out, you'll see more and more of him, and he just becomes a big flaming butterfly, I guess you could say the subject is. Okay,
for me with bad eyes, you got to be a little more specific as to where the firefly is. Is it the giant red part of the painting, or is some section thereof?
Yeah, you can barely see the front of the bug near the tip if we're zooming in on it now, and
so it would be almost in the center, right, where that little tip is? Is that what you're saying?
I see this little guy with his antenna. He definitely doesn't look like a firefly, like the insect, but he's more of a fly. Just kind of means bug in this instance. And it's actually pretty literal. It's probably one of the more literal titles I have.
And what is it attaching itself to, or flying by?
No, it's just kind of bursting. There's a lot of color coming from it. That actually used to be the original painting. Like I said, was going to be traffic lights, and you have like your red side and your kind of white and brighter side representing traffic coming towards you. And then we just kind of evolved, and I added the bug symbol, and then we started to grunge it up. I would rip some of the paint off like with my nails, and now it's just a pretty dynamic, bright, colorful image.
All right, and what media is this again? Is acrylic again?
Well, this is acrylic, and the metallic silver.
Yeah, I noticed that the background is highly shiny, so it does look like a metallic. What is that?
This is actually Valspar house paint. It's very durable and just really makes the rest of the colors pop.
So you see, folks, you don't need to go buy expensive artist paint. You can use things for your house. So if you see this thing. Now, I tell you, when I first saw this, once again, folks, as you know, those who follow the program, I don't have good eyes, and I see a lot of things that aren't in the paintings. Sometimes that's controversial, and sometimes it's just the way it is. Sometimes it's also a little light bulb to the artist to show that things are subject to interpretation. When I saw this in its prior perch on the floor against the table, I really thought it was a peacock. Now, even though the peacock doesn't have so much, their feathers are flavor are a lot more blues and green, turquoise, as opposed to the vibrant reds and yellow. Perhaps it can be a Chinese peacock, since red and gold are the most favored colors in China. But if you actually saw it up close, you can see almost, and I don't want to like to touch the paint, but all of these look almost like leaves, or feathers, excuse me, with the different inserts, just in a specific color. So you can see the ability to interpret this. One thing about it is certainly extremely vibrant, so this would be magnificent on a white wall or any other color, but certainly a white one, because it would just bring out the festiveness and the brightness of it. And putting it on that silver metallic background really does bring it out and make it stand out almost a 3D effect. Now, what size did you say that was again?
Yeah, this is also at 18 by 24. It's one of my larger ones.
Okay, the same thing with a studio wrap, so you certainly can feature it, hang it just as it is. And okay, and the name once again, because I forget.
Yeah, this guy is Firefly.
Firefly, named after the smallest thing on there. Okay, that makes sense. All right, let's go ahead and move. Now we're getting, unfortunately, a lot of Kelsy's work. Not unfortunately, because from her version, it's a lot more marketable to sell smaller pieces than large pieces, even though, as I told you, the trend has been to putting monumental. So let's go ahead back. So the rest of them are going to be much smaller than the first two we've shown. But let's take a look at my first piece that I'm holding up, see if we can get the camera there. And why don't you tell me about that? Once again, the only thing I can say about it, if you notice that now we have, I would call them high energy or electrical transformer lines. I'm not sure if that's the proper term for me. You can see that in the grayish, blackish blue outline of the painting. Why don't you tell us what this is, what it's called, and a little bit more about the inspiration?
Yeah, this one is called Bolts, and
V-O-L-T-S?
B-O-L-T-S, like B as in boy.
Okay, and how would we get bolts out of this?
Oh, we have a bolt of lightning coming down the side.
Oh, you do?
Yeah.
And where is that located? Is that the yellow thing coming
Yeah, big
down?
yellow thing coming out.
Ah, I thought that was a tree. Okay. I'm bad, but I mean,
yeah.
So it's a bolt of lightning striking the ground.
Yeah.
Fortunately, it missed the electrical thing. That's good to see. And what else? Anything else about it? What is the? What's the base? The earth? What is that? Is that just ground?
This is actually taken from a photo that I took while driving across the causeway, and that kind of yellow sea down there is technically Lake Pontchartrain.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, everything is off color. The lake is not going to be blue. The sky is not going to be blue. Everything is very unnatural colors.
I see. Yeah. So what leads me to be in disbelief is that how could you have the high utility wires if that was on the lake?
Yeah, it's amazing how they string them up. But yeah, if you do drive on I-10 or like on the causeway,
and they actually have them in the water. They actually
have them strung up. They go all the way across the lake, and I think it's a miracle that they work. The structures that we make for power and the things that we do for power never cease to amaze me. And the fact that we have these live wires running over water is just a miracle. It boggles my mind.
Frightening to say. I mean, it's bad enough we've had so many people complain about them being so close to homes in residential areas, but it is. But I guess of the two, it's probably better to be over the water than be next to a home. So, and these things go high to the almost skyscraper style. They're so big. There you go. Anthony's taking charge of the camera and really zooming up to the top there. So tell us now again what media we got, what size we got, stuff like that.
Yeah, this is, again, acrylic on a 9 by 12 inch canvas.
Okay, 9 by 12, a little larger than a letter pad, so very legal, not legal, letter size pad.
Right.
All right, and once again, it's called Bolt, B-O-L-T, for the lightning bolt that's striking down into the water and near the electrical cage. Okay? Well, okay, that's very good. Again, this is great being the size because it actually can go anywhere, whether it be great for an office, but any place that's small. You don't need a big wall for something like this. You could, in fact, a lot of Kelsey's work, because of the same subject matter, you can go ahead and maybe group, if you could get it and group it together in a series on it. Okay, now let's go ahead and take a look at Kelsey's next one, if we can get up close to that one.
All right.
What we got there? Some pretty, vibrant. I don't know if on the monitor, it does, one of them has more orange, I see. One of the monitors really has the beautiful pink. This sky or background is just phenomenal, and I'm hazarding to guess that this is a reflection of maybe the oil industry.
Yeah, a lot of people ask me if I have some crazy philosophical reason for specifically picking oil rigs, refineries, power plants. And the silhouettes are very beautiful, but it's impossible to paint them without everyone just assuming that you're trying to take some kind of stance one way or the other on the energy industry and on everything that's been happening recently. And yeah, this is called PPG.